Men, what if the problem in your relationship is not actually your relationship? What if the problem is actually you? So I am married with 2 children, my beautiful wife Sati, and our 2 children, Sage and Zen. We've been together for 12 years. We've been married it'll be our 10th wedding anniversary this year. But it hasn't always been easy, it hasn't always been good. And one of the things that I've reflected on in my own marriage and in my previous relationships is one of the things I've learned that a marriage or a relationship will do is invariably it will reflect back to us as men where we have blind spots. So, a funny thing, years ago, a friend of mine said to me, he said, who's your favorite mentor? And I think he was expecting me to say like Tony Robbins or Les Brown or Grant Cardone. And because I had a moment to think about it, I said to him, my best mentors are Natalie, Sarah, and I basically started to Helen. I basically started to reel off ex-girlfriends, because what those girlfriends did for me is they showed me where I was misaligned. They showed me where I was incongruent. They showed me where I was perhaps talking the talk and not walking the walk. They showed me where I had unresolved problems, trauma, pain from childhood that I'd not processed, healed and dealt with. And all of those past relationships broke down, which thankfully they did, because if they didn't, I wouldn't have met my wife Sati. But lo and behold, when I came into my relationship with Sati, I still, for a number of years, didn't heal what needed to be healed. I just got lucky that I found a woman that was willing to love me unconditionally and to a larger extent tolerate the parts of me that were not great, because she could see through it and see past it and see the good. And if you don't know anything about me, just to give you the short version, my mum and dad broke up before I was born. And if you know anything about men and male psychology, not having a father or not having a father figure or a male role model that's significant in the early stages of a boy's life is really pivotal. It can really make or break him. If you look at suicide rates, if you look at men who commit to crime, most of the highest proportions of groups are boys that grew up without a father, or perhaps even grew up with a father who wasn't a good role model. So just to be clear, this is not about men without fathers. It's about, did you have a good male role model? And what do I mean by good male role model? Well, I was raised by my mum on a council estate in Birmingham. My mum did best she could, 2 for 1 parent. But as a result of her upbringing, she didn't know how to emotionally regulate herself. Meaning if she was sad, she would hide her emotions, she'd hide her feelings. She wouldn't allow me to see sadness because she wanted to protect me. But in protecting me, it meant that I didn't know how to communicate and express my emotions. It meant that when I had pain or sadness, I would suppress it. And my suppression of emotion has invariably turned into anger. For me, I believe anger is suppressed emotion. Anger is emotion suppressed. Anger is like, and I didn't plan to have this, but it's good for an illustration, it's like having a kettle, right, and keeping, as I'm in my hotel room in Harlow, the sexy world of a speaker, anger is like having imagine this was boiling, right, but imagine I kept my finger like on the thing, which means it didn't allow it to boil, right? I don't know if it would explode, but it probably wouldn't be a good idea for me to hold that and keep it boiling, right? That's what anger really is. So what I've come to learn is the problem for most men in marriage has nothing to do with their partner. Now, just to be clear, because that might cause uproar. Men in the group might be like, but my wife's a nightmare, Now, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that your wife doesn't necessarily have her own emotional stuff, but what I'm saying is, if we take responsibility for ourselves, men, then what we need to do more than anything is we need to emotionally regulate ourselves, because I have a wife who is hormonal, who has periods, who has menopause coming up, and I am a man that doesn't have those things, right? And I know, because I've studied enough and I've seen things from Stacey Sims and things like that, that we as men, if we want to have a great marriage, if we want to have a great relationship with our partner, if you want more of what you want from your wife, if you want her to love on you, touch you, hold you, have sex with you, be with you, meet your needs, here's how you do it. You got to meet her needs. And one of the best ways I've learned to meet my wife's needs is to make sure that I'm emotionally regulated. Most of our arguments have been due to me and or Sally, but mainly me, if I'm taking responsibility, being emotionally dysregulated. Now, what do I mean by emotional dysregulation? Well, we've often joked over the years, me and Sally, about we're allowed a free pass. If we argue and we're tired, dehydrated or hungry, we're allowed a free pass. Now, it's a joke, but what those three things really do is they often create emotional dysregulation. Like, I was with the team the other day, I was really hungry, and I said to them, team, I'm not going to talk for the next 20 minutes because I'm getting hangry. You know what that means, right? So I was hungry, and therefore I knew I wasn't in a good state. So I basically just went, I'm going to shut down in the right way, because I'm not in the right energy and state to speak, because I'm hungry. But I was able to say that without it being created as a problem. Most people, however, are not aware of these things. So putting the hunger and the dehydration, the tired aside, emotional dysregulation is when a person's central nervous system is almost like on the wrong frequency. So what do I mean by that? Well, most of the time, I believe that conflict or argument or problems in a relationship or marriage is a bit like you're on one radio station, they're on another, right? And you're trying to get that person to, let's try and make this a good example, even though it's a terrible analogy, right? You're well, put it this way. You're all probably aware of the blue gold dress thing. You're familiar with that, right? Where it's basically, people say it's gold, some people say it's blue. Most problems in marriage come about because those two people have a difference of opinion. Difference of opinion is not a problem if each individual is regulated. What do I mean? What I mean is, if I'm in the right energy and I'm in the right state, and my wife's in the right energy and the right state, weak disagreements will be like banter. But if we're in the wrong state, it's bad, right? So for me, what I've learned is dysregulation, regulating my central nervous system is one of the most important things that I can do to have a great marriage. And there's a few things that I do. Number one is breath work. Now, what do I mean by breath work? Well, we're breathing all the time, but we're often shallow breathing. Shallow breathing means less oxygen gets into the body and into the brain, which can create anxiety and stress and increase levels of cortisol. Deep breathing. You do that for 10 minutes a few times a day, you'll feel calm. You will be regulated. Your heart rate will slow down. The stress in your body will dissipate. You will feel better. Meditation, another great one. Most of the time our heads are full of stuff. And if you're a male and you're an entrepreneur, your mind is probably full of, I've got to do this and I've got to do this and I've got to achieve this and I've got to achieve that. The problem is, if you don't have the headspace to be present with your partner, take it from me. I've been the one that's been so busy at my computer that Satya's come in to give me a kiss on the cheek. And I said, babe, what are you doing? She's like, I was just giving you a kiss on the cheek. I'm like, I appreciate that, babe, but I'm really in the middle of this thing. Now I hear that back and I'm almost ashamed of that. My woman is coming to give me affection and give me the significance and the validation at an unconscious level I would always want from her. And yet in that moment, I'm so busy, singular focused, that I'm rejecting that. You may hear that and go, well, that makes sense because you've got stuff to do and that's a distraction. Isn't the whole point of building the business so that you can give them a better life? Well, yes, it is, but for them to have the better life, I need to finish this project. How about you just have the better life now? Hello? How about just be the best version of you now, rather than 3 years down the line when maybe the marriage is broken down beyond repair and now it's over? I see so many male entrepreneurs. I got lucky, became aware of this stuff, and now this is why I'm teaching it. And it became so consumed by I've got to achieve more, because I thought if I achieve more, it will make my marriage good. But at an unconscious level, it wasn't even about that. It was if I achieve more, maybe my dad that left will tell me I'm enough. Maybe my mum that didn't ever tell me she was proud of me will tell me she's proud of me. That was what was really going on at an unconscious level. Men, you got to fix this shit. Because if you don't, you'll mess up your marriage and you'll fuck it up forever. And the next thing you know, you're in another relationship and you're maybe complaining about your past partner when deep down, if you're really honest with yourself, you know that you were the problem, right? I'm not saying that your partner is immune to criticism, but I'm saying take responsibility. The way that you take responsibility for your business, take responsibility for yourself. And if this is resonating with you, we've got an event coming up. At the time of doing this video, May 23rd, I think is when we're doing the next one. We're going to spend a whole day on this, man. It's called the Reset. We're going to spend one day. And in that one day, we're going to fix all this stuff once and for all. And in this one day, we're going to make sure that as you work on your entrepreneurial endeavors, we're not just working on making your business better, we're working on making your marriage better. We're working on making your relationship better. So when you succeed, you can turn around and you know that she's still there. Because the worst thing that would happen is for you to achieve and she's gone. Because as Tony Robbins says best, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Somewhere around the video there should be a link for the event. If there's not, just send me a message and I'll add you to the group so you can take part in that. May 23rd, Reset. Men, you're going to want to be there. If you're an entrepreneurial man that has it all figured out, this is not for you. But if you're an entrepreneurial man watching and you can be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I haven't got everything figured out. Business is growing, but my marriage is probably not as good as it could be. May 23rd, Reset. Be there. That's it from me. See you next video. Peace.